the New Arts and Media Studios in Milwaukee, I'm Charles Purcell. This is The Log. One of the many things we have to slam the brakes on and put into full reverse is the fascist Orange regime's new counterterrorism strategy released just a couple days ago. The focus on drug cartels and on what they call Antifa. And especially regarding the latter, we've seen this before. An SPM 7, National Security Presidential Memo, came out early in the administration, defining Antifa as the greatest danger to America. Yeah, anti-fascists are the threat. Went out of its way to be ideological. If you're too enthusiastic about LGBTQ rights or women's rights, it pretty much defined anybody who's not MAGA literally as a terrorist. They talked about un-American ideas. If you oppose capitalism, insane. It was insane. But then it was fortified by a memo from the Department of Justice directing its agencies to turn these concepts into action. Then a directive from the FBI that further solidified and manifested these ideas. Now we've got them in this counterterrorism strategy, which all administrations release from time to time, basically defines that administration's worldview on what's dangerous and what we have to battle. Zero mention, of what's been the accepted data now for a couple of decades, that far-right political violence is the number one issue. All the data shows that from both Republican and Democratic administrations. Threats to the peace, threats of violence domestically come from the far right by wide numbers. Far right anti-government, far right racists. Suddenly, after many years, that disappears. So this is 100% ideological. This is 100% in the fascist wheelhouse. So the drug cartels, of course, we've seen that justification used to murder people in small boats off the coast of South and Central America. Nearly 200 killed, I forget the exact number, all of them murders. Remember Rodrigo Duterte, former president of the Philippines, infamous for his so-called war on drugs, which was just a murder rampage. No investigation, no evidence, no due process, just a killing spree. And the Orange Menace went out of his way to praise Duterte, who openly encouraged police and vigilantes to kill suspected drug users. And the Orange Menace thought that was just fantastic, repeatedly praising Duterte. Unbelievable job, fighting very hard to rid his country of drugs. What a great job you're doing. Well, of course, Duterte was arrested about a year ago, accused of crimes against humanity for his so-called war on drugs, currently in jail awaiting trial. If there's any justice in this world a year from now, the Orange Menace will be behind bars, awaiting trial. But now this is the official policy of this administration's counterterrorism strategy. You may remember Sebastian Gorka, the far right-wing, alt-right nutjob, talking head in the first Orange administration, now back for 2.0 as White House counterterrorism czar. So he had a big hand in writing this thing, as he did in writing parts of Project 2025. Quote, "We will find you and we will kill you." That phrase, originally coined by the Orange Menace himself, Gorka has made it a central theme. He wears a lanyard inscribed with the abbreviation WWFY and WWKY. We will find you and we will kill you. He's got these novelty coins with the same slogan that he gives to people. He's also got sophomoric, sexist language that he uses. He calls his critics testicularly challenged, accusing them of taking a low-T approach to national security. So there's this stupid frat bro thing he shares with Pete Hegseth and others in the regime. But it's the violence, my God, the violence. Of course, the fishing boats example, just blowing people out of the water, cold-blooded murder. But we've heard Pete Hegseth, maximum lethality, no quarter, meaning, no, we don't have to take prisoners, we'll just kill you. Gorka uses the phrase red mist, which I'd never heard before. I had to look it up. Yeah, he wants to turn suspected terrorists, not convicted terrorists, no, suspected terrorists, that means anybody they say, turn them into red mist. Have you heard that before? It describes the physical result of extreme violence, specifically when a person is hit with such force that they are atomized or disintegrated into a spray of blood, sometimes used in video games, where an enemy is hit by a rocket launcher or a high-caliber rifle and disappears into a cloud of blood rather than leaving a body. These are the people of the orange regime. And this is in your government's new counterterrorism strategy. Suspected drug runners, not convicted, no evidence, no due process, just suspected, meaning anyone they care to name, is now a terrorist, on an equal level with you and me. Because in the original presidential memo, and as it worked its way through the Justice Department, the FBI, and now this new document, it considers ideology and counter-ideology, what you and I practice every day together, as an act of terrorism. If you and I are determined by the regime as against Western civilization, against America, against capitalism, against organized religion, in any way pro-socialist, pro-anarchist, anti-fascist, now, in several iterations, they have put down in black and white the official policy of the United States federal government that you and I are terrorists. We can be arrested and we can be killed on sight. No quarter, no questions. This is what we're up against, people. But we have to talk about this voting rights disaster just a little bit more, because after this Supreme Court ruling gutting the Voting Rights Act, Republican states are just jumping at the opportunity here. Tennessee Republicans have passed a map to break up the state's one and only Democratic district. They're going to split Shelby County, home to majority black Memphis, into 3 different districts. And the result of that will be to eliminate the state's only remaining Democratic-held seat. Right now, Tennessee has 8 Republicans and 1 Democrat. It's going to be 9-0. They're just wiping people right off the map. And the Supreme Court has given them their blessing. So Tennessee's done it. Florida has already done it. Louisiana, in the process, they're the ones who literally canceled an election after it had begun. Other red states poised and ready: Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, and Missouri. On top of that, Trump appointed Judge J.P. Booley, District Court for the Northern District of Georgia, has ruled on the raid of Fulton County ballots when the FBI went into election headquarters and walked out with all the ballots, all the tabulation, all the paperwork from the 2020 election, in an effort to manufacture evidence for the big lie that Joe Biden stole the 2020 election from the Orange Menace. So the courts didn't help us there. The fascist regime is actively pursuing ballots, tabulations, machines from all 50 states. As we've been trying to yell from the rooftop for, years now, it's all about consolidating power. A lot of people still wonder, why do they do things that are so unpopular? Look at the polling. Voters don't like this war. They don't like the way they're handling the economy. They don't even like the way they're handling immigration. Why do they keep doubling down on policies that are so unpopular? Well, they don't care about popularity. They don't care what voters want, what they think. It's all about consolidating power. It's all it's ever been about. Approval ratings be damned. So first you try to take away their vote. That's what the SAVE Act was all about. That failed. Okay, so you write what you can into an illegal presidential executive order, and then for whoever's left, well, then, okay, you let them vote, but their vote is meaningless. Anybody who doesn't vote Republican in Florida, Tennessee, Missouri, South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Louisiana, Texas, they can vote religiously. Their vote won't matter. It won't count. So first you take away their vote. If you can't do that, all right, make their vote meaningless. That's what the SCOTUS decision is all about. That's what gerrymandering is all about. Now, the only hope, if there is some hope, it could backfire, because in order to gerrymander, you have to reduce the margin. So say one district has a 70-30 Republican edge, and it's next to a district that has a 60-40 Democratic edge. Well, you rig it and you redraw the lines. You surgically remove some of that Democratic district and put it into the Republican district. And as they're doing in Tennessee, a couple of other neighboring Republican districts send their tentacles into that once Democratic district. That's how it works. But here's the hopeful part, that it could backfire. It weakens the margin of those Republican districts. It brings in more non-Republican voters, Democrats, independents. So instead of 70-30, maybe now it's 60-40 or 55-45. And all of a sudden, maybe you're in striking distance. And if it's a wave election, as it has been so far in every off-year election, primary, every vote across the country since 2024 has flipped by double digits. That's not to say Republicans haven't won any elections, but if they won by 20 points in 2024, in subsequent elections, they've won by 10 points or 9 or 8. There's some cases where there have been 20-plus point swings. So I kind of hang my hat of hope on that it could backfire, and some of these reduced margins could actually result in a flip away from MAGA. Okay? Maybe. Now, the irony of that, of course, would be that in a weird way, it kind of proves them right. See, in the end, the voters really do have the voice. I don't even want to think about that irony. So we have to fight this battle against MAGA on several fronts. The most obvious immediate answer is, of course, that Democrats have no choice. They have to answer back. We had the recent decision in Virginia where they redrew their maps to favor Democrats. Of course, California famously did it. That doesn't make me happy, but we have no choice. And at this point, post-SCOTUS decision, we're in overdrive. The Democrats have no choice. So any state that has the power to do this, if you have Democrats in your legislature with the power to do it, this new power invented by the Supreme Court, you have no choice. You have to use it. We can come back later and fix things. There's lots to fix. And then, of course, there's the things you and I have already talked about. We have to get anyone and everyone who's willing, able to work inside your local election system, to volunteer, support your local election officials in any way you can, make sure you have their back, because the regime is pressuring them, bullying them at every turn. The members of your state assembly, state senate, your governor, they have to be pressured by us, by the voters, to do everything they can to guarantee free and fair elections, as this fascist regime is pulling out all the stops to rig it in their favor. And now, post this SCOTUS decision, we have to demand from those state representatives in blue states that they fight fire with fire. We're in an emergency situation. If you have the votes in your state legislature, just do it yourself and make it a clean sweep. Eliminate every Republican district in your state. Yes, it's extreme. And yes, it's necessary. So now the Virginia Supreme Court has ruled against the redrawn maps in Virginia that were expected to give Democrats another 4 seats in Congress. Yeah, you have to have the full trifecta. You have to have the governor's seat. You have to have both houses of the state legislature. And you have to have the Supreme Court. So depending on how you count that, that's a trifecta or a fourfecta. The NAACP in Tennessee has filed lawsuit challenging the redrawn maps in their state. But Tennessee's Supreme Court is solid conservative, all 5 Republican appointees. So good luck to the NAACP in their lawsuit. I don't have high hopes. I went back and checked. States that have the full trifecta or the fourfecta, governor, both houses of legislature, and the state Supreme Court are California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Hawaii, Illinois, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, New Jersey, New Mexico, Oregon, Rhode Island, Vermont, and Washington. If I counted that right, that's 15. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries was quoted recently as promising, quote, maximum warfare in this ongoing intensified battle over redistricting. I don't always agree with Leader Jeffries, as you know. I am 100% with him here. Maximum warfare. These 15 states wipe every Republican district off your maps. As I said earlier, we'll come back, we'll fix things later. Right now, we are in the battle for our lives. The Democratic Party is in a very, very bad way right now. Their net approval, according to the latest poll I saw, minus 20. Worse than the Republican Party, minus 18 net approval for the Republicans. But there's a nuance in these approval polls that people don't really think about. You know who does not like the Republicans? Everybody, except Republicans. Nobody likes them. You know who doesn't like Democrats? Well, that's a little different story. People who don't like Democrats are people who aren't Democrats, yes, but half of the Democrats don't like the Democrats. Left-leaning independents don't like Democrats. So this minus 20 net approval and minus 18 net approval it's kind of misleading. If the Democrats just did the right thing, they would win back overnight half of their base and most of the independents. And doing the right thing is A, putting an end to this redistricting war by going nuclear and winning it, and then B, by embracing what the Democratic Party stood for years, namely FDR, the New Deal, LBJ, the Great Society. Democrats, this is your opportunity to do the right thing. If you're going to stick with, God forbid, Kamala Harris, who keeps talking, she can't shut up, she wants to run again, good God. Joe Biden, Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, pretty much every potential presidential candidate, except for Ro Khanna, who I like. I mean, don't take it from me. I've been complaining about these damn centrist, moderate, third-way Democrats for decades. You don't have to listen to me anymore. Look at the polls. Look at what voters actually want. They don't want that compromising third way. They want progress. Any objective observer should see this. Again, don't take my word for it. Just look at the facts. Look at the numbers. The people want Zoran Mamdani. They want Ro Khanna. They want AOC. Here in Wisconsin, there's only one single candidate running in the Democratic primary that should even be considered, and that's Francesca Hong, the one true progressive. Who do these establishment Democrats think are going to vote for them? This mythical creature they keep talking about? Centrist, go-slow moderates who want to work across the aisle, who want to compromise with fascists? Don't make any big changes. That voter doesn't exist. It's a media invention. It's a party invention. Well, maybe you think that's you. Maybe you think of yourself as a moderate who wants the parties to work across the aisle. Well, maybe you think that, but you're wrong. You've been hypnotized. You've been bamboozled. Do you also believe in ghosts? Are you a flat earther? Yeah, they exist too, in small numbers. They weren't born that way, they were built. They were manufactured. Why do you think Janet Mills, governor of Maine, dropped out of her U.S. Senate race? Because Graham Plattner, the actual progressive, is the clear frontrunner. She had no chance. The people are speaking. Now, we should spend some time talking about Graham Plattner because he's become this national figure. And he is a progressive, which means establishment Democratic Party, establishment media are bending over backwards to make him controversial, to sabotage him. Of course, now he's the last person standing in this U.S. Senate race from Maine, so even Chuck Schumer had to endorse him. He didn't want to, was left no choice. For the umpteenth time, politicians don't do the right thing unless they have no choice. And the voters in Maine have given the establishment Democratic Party no option. They want Graham Plattner. There's only one direction for the Democratic Party to go, and that's in our direction. They have to fight like hell in this redistricting battle, and then they have to hit the campaign trail for the midterms with a Zoran Mamdani, Francesca Hong, AOC, Bernie Sanders, Graham Plattner agenda, which ought to include massive court reform, voting rights, eliminate Citizens United, paid family leave, a living wage, universal health care, not universal insurance, no, universal health care, open the Epstein files. Just a few things off the top of my head. That's not the comprehensive list. That's just for a start. But the establishment party, especially in the person of Ken Martin, the head of the DNC, is still spewing out the same old talking points. Potential presidential candidates have been advised to appear more human by talking about their challenges. Did you see that article? Yeah, they've been encouraged to talk about their childhood trauma to make them seem more personal and human. I mean, this has been a punchline for years. The political consultants, the talking points, the strategies. People like Ezra Klein, who I've been complaining about for a while. His proud, self-proclaimed identity as a capital L liberal, meaning a devoted capitalist, always open-minded, always willing to compromise. For those of you who may have stumbled across this program, maybe you haven't heard me before. Maybe you haven't heard this line of thinking before. But please understand that capital L liberal, by any honest definition of the word, is a right-leaning, centrist capitalist. It's not FDR's New Deal. It's not LBJ's Great Society. It's not the sewer socialists of Milwaukee and Wisconsin. It's not Graham Plattner. It's not AOC. It's not Bernie Sanders. It's not Francesca Hong. This is the new wave. This is the future. Labels, of course, they get in the way. But if you insist, progressives, Justice Democrats, call them what you will. But it ain't the Clintons. It's not Barack Obama. It's not Joe Biden. And it's not Kamala Harris. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries often will say the right thing. He gets swept up in progressive talking points. Now, we've never seen it in his actual action, in his actual votes, in where he gets his money for his campaigns. No, we've never seen that. But to give him the benefit of the doubt, and it's a big doubt, maybe his progressive rhetoric is a sign that he's starting to get it, or at least maybe that he understands he has to fake it in order to get votes. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with Hakeem Jeffries. So Democrats, the campaign has begun for the midterms. For all intents and purposes, the 2028 presidential campaign has begun. Please make an effort to see what's right in front of your face. And, to use tired old phrasing, yeah, we can walk and chew gum at the same time. Of course, it's about the economy. Of course, it's about the future. Yes, it's about issues. And at the same time, the chewing gum part, Democrats, you have to promise, and you have to mean it, that you will investigate the crimes of this administration and of this Republican Party. You will charge individuals with those crimes, and you will prosecute them and put them in jail. You also have to promise to gut the Oval Office, restore the Rose Garden, rebuild the East Wing, remove the dictator's name and image from every building and from every program. There is a very big job ahead of us. And establishment Democrats, and this is the biggest ask of all, there must be an end of hostilities against the left wing of your party and against third parties and independents. I understand that may be too much to ask. I don't know if you can do that. But I'm telling you, if you take that old road, that third way, that centrist, meet in the middle, go slow approach, you'll still probably clean up in the midterms because the fascist regime is so unpopular, so extreme. So that blue wave might just be handed to you. For that matter, it's more than likely at this point you're going to take the White House in 2028. So you don't have to follow my advice to win these elections. If that's all you want. Is that all you want? To win elections? You don't want to actually govern. You don't want to actually get anything done. You just want to hold power. Is that it? If that's what you want, you can have it for another cycle. But then you'll just lose in the midterms again. And if you're lucky, you might go 8 years, but you probably won't because the country's so damn riled up. Embrace the new wave of Justice Democrats, of progressives, of democratic socialists. You need to be born again. Unless you just want this back and forth cycle where you win and hold power for a while, and then the other side wins and holds power for a while, and nothing actually gets done except we continue to drift with every cycle to the right and to the right and to the right, into authoritarianism, into fascism, into techno-feudalism. If that's what you want, then go ahead and continue sabotaging the left. Continue putting up moderate, do-nothing candidates. Safe, electable. Like Josh Shapiro, or Wes Moore, or Gavin Newsom. See, I think that's what you want. I don't think you're stupid. I think you see what the voters want. I think you see what's right. I just don't think you care anymore. You just want your share of the power, however you can get it. Well, it's very possible that that strategy, though it's worked well for you for 50 years, that may just be over. And if you want to stay in the game at all, you better get in line behind AOC and Bernie and Graham Plattner and Francesca Hong and Zoran Mamdani. Because we'll do this with you or without you. All right. Please find this episode and all episodes at charlesburcell.com or on your favorite podcast platform. Find us on Blue Sky and Substack. Thanks to our flagship terrestrial station, River West Radio in Milwaukee. Peter Donalds wrote and performed our theme song. I love you. I'll see you out there.